Well, well, boys and girls, what did I get myself into this fine Thursday evening? Uh, for it's been a long time. This is going to be episode 242. We are finally trust fund approved. We'll see by the time we end this interview. This is Stirring the Pot with Don Kincaid and my very special guest, Jared Silberkite.
No, Silberkleit. I really would have thought you would have gotten this down by now. It's Silberkleit. Silberkleit. You know, Don, if you want me to come on this paycheck to paycheck podcast, you got to get my name right. Come on, that should be rule number one.
Oh, okay. I apologize for that, but not really. But what I would do, just for that kind of instance, that those shenanigans, maybe I'll send you a little extra in your appearance fee. Maybe that'll work out. Yeah.
Please Venmo me immediately.
Okay. Absolutely. I got you. No, I don't. Don't tell him. But anywho,
all your listeners can Venmo me too at Jared_Silberkleit. Please.
Oh wow. Silverkite, Silverkleit.
Silberkleit. And I just want to be clear, I don't need your money. I don't need any of the middle classers' money, but I'd like to see it.
That is very evident. Because if you notice, I'm wearing some of your fine merch, my friend. Now, I didn't because I was in a tight bind at the time, but my friend Laura C., she fronted a brother some cash so I could get trust fund approved. What do you think, my friend?
Oh, perfectly. Not too bad. Probably it's by far the best shirt that you can find in your wardrobe, I'm sure. And all your listeners, if you don't have that t-shirt, you can go to prowrestlingtees.com/Jared Silberkleit Trust Fund, all one word, and pick up your own copy.
Wow. Very fine plug. That's what we like to do here, sir. We like to get to know the talent, and we want them to push their product, their whatever they got going on, their agenda.
Absolutely.
And that's what
buy my 7-figure shirts.
Yes. Yeah, okay. So, Mr. Silberkite, I've been wanting to talk to you for quite some time now. And again, this is going to be episode 242. And I know it's taken us a while to connect here, but I've always been scared to approach you, my friend. When you're at the shows, you're very loud. You're very, get away from me. You're very my client. You got this thing going on.
Assets. I don't have clients. This isn't a ripoff act. Everything I do is 100% original. I don't have clients. I have assets.
Oh, assets.
I don't have a stable. I have a portfolio.
Oh, a portfolio and assets. I will never forget that ever again. I apologize.
Yes.
Thank you for correcting me, by the way. Thank you.
Believe me, it's my pleasure.
So we're going to talk. We're going to get into many things. And what we like to do on the show is pull back the curtain a little bit. Are you willing to do that? Because I know you are quite the character out there, sir. Are you willing to maybe pull it just a smidge? We don't have to get too deep, not too detailed.
All right. Well, first of all, I have to let you know, if you think that this is an act, you think this is a character, you are sorely mistaken. I use my real name for a reason. Hey, that's the first thing I want to clear the air on, because sometimes I get people coming up to me being like, wow, Silberkleit, where did you come up with such a wacky, complicated name? That is my real last name. I was born Jared Silberkleit. I am Jared Silberkleit. And this is my personality. Some people think this is an act. I am like this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for all 27 plus years that I've been on this earth. So there is no peeling back as far as I'm concerned. But if you want to know how I got from point A to point Z, then sure, we can dive into that, Mr. Kincaid.
Okay. Thank you for addressing me as such instead of jackass or something. I appreciate that.
I don't swear. I told you that before we started recording.
Oh.
I will not stoop to the middle classers level.
Okay, my fault. I apologize.
The trust fund is family friendly and safe for your children, and I intend to keep it that way.
Fine message. I appreciate that as a fan. Fine message. No, you have this whole trust fund thing approved. We just spoken about your real name. Why not make a character, as many have, from scratch, and put on, whatever this or whatever that as a facade, if you will, for the wrestling? Why take your real name and go with that?
Well, I mean, honestly, I when I got into wrestling, or really just grow up, before I even knew I wanted to pursue wrestling, I always knew that I wanted to go into entertainment in some capacity. I wanted the world to know who I was. And I just never got into the idea of, let me create this fake persona and change my name. I mean, some people get really creative and it fits what they're going for. But for me, I mean, I just wanted to be as authentic as I could possibly be. And what really sparked me into getting out there and managing in professional wrestling was really just knowing real life things I did to get under people's skin and thinking this can be translated very seamlessly to the professional wrestling environment. And the more I thought about it when I'm formulating this, I'm like, I don't want to be, Billy Lots of Bucks or, some kind of dumb made up name like that. I just want to be Jared Silberkleit, the annoying little weasel that's always gotten under everybody's skin from the time I was in kindergarten, first grade, all the way into my mid to late 20s. Only difference is now I dress a lot nicer.
Billy Bucks a lot, or Billy Lotta Bucks, or whatever you said.
Exactly. Like how stupid would that sound? Be like, okay, there's the fake Mr. Rich guy.
Because there's plenty in wrestling. So what you've done though is you've taken your real life persona. And on the show, I've come to learn as a fan, because I would never get in that ring. I'm built like a candle, sir. But what I've come to know is,
all right, you get one. You get one. All right, okay. I'm keeping score.
We got him to crack a smile. But my point being is, you've taken this persona, you've brought it to the forefront in wrestling. But you've taken your natural life and your real life experiences and whatnot, and you've brought it to the table instead of making up this weird character from scratch and all of that stuff, like we were saying. But on the show, I've come to learn that those characters that are built from natural life instances and experiences are some of the best characters that really skyrocket to a higher platform in this industry. And my friend, I have to give you 1,000,000% credit, because that's exactly what you've done. You've taken a uniqueness out of the rich guy persona in wrestling and made it your own with your own thing. And I applaud you so much on that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And really, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you hear it all the time. The best characters, the best personas in wrestling are just an extension of how somebody is in real life, cranked up to 11 or what have you. Because I really think that, if you're a wrestler, you're a personality on the show in any capacity, you can't just, come to the building one day and decide I'm going to be a cowboy, or, I'm going to be a zombie. It's just got to be natural. Think about, real life interactions with people. What do you do or say that makes people laugh or smile or be happy or be sad, and then just amplify that. That's always what I've drawn from. It's never been you can look at wrestling. We're all fans of wrestling. You see what works for other people, but you really got to find what works for you.
Absolutely. Very, very, very well said. I love that message right there. Now, I want to talk about a character that you were. I'm going to go to a few years back. NEW, I forget the exact show, but it was during the holidays. If I'm not mistaken, Taven Claus was in-house at the time.
He was.
And boys and girls, for those that weren't there, you missed something, because Mr. Silberkleit was a dreidel, a legit. He was in a dreidel costume, and we had a blast with that. Mr. Silberkleit, you're laughing along with us. Thinking back to that time, what does that do for your memories in wrestling for yourself? Because we're talking about something that's totally different than what you're doing right now.
Right. Well, I mean, it really, I think it speaks to my willingness to take risks and not be afraid to, go crazy with stuff, in ring, on camera. Because honestly, at that point, I was just an announcer, and not even the full-time announcer. I was splitting duties as ring announcer, just kind of almost filling in for shows here and there. Or, maybe there's a chance to do interviews on this show. Maybe there isn't. I didn't have a concrete set role. So, in trying to find some kind of segment to place myself in, I just kind of had an idea. I was like, oh, we're doing this Christmas themed show. Well, how about we get some Hanukkah representation out there? And I was like, all right, if I'm going to get this was my first segment to really play a character in wrestling ever. So I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all the way with it. I'm not just going to come out wearing, some shirt that has a menorah on it or something like that. No. I'm going to find the most outrageous looking, oversized dreidel costume I could find on the internet. And, had like Yiddish folk music as my entrance. I mean, I went all the way. I'm like, I want everybody to know that I'm here and what I'm doing.
I am laughing as you're
and
going through.
you would never
Yeah.
see that. How many times? Like, yeah, we've seen a lot of Christmas themed, holiday specials in wrestling. But when have you ever seen the Battle of the Holidays?
Yeah. As you're going through this and you're talking about getting the costume, going over the top, the entrance music, all of these little. We talk about the pieces of the puzzle when it comes to wrestling, and those right there, you threw in those little nuances that really made it something big as one package. Because if you notice, I went right to it. That's something as a fan that I will never forget, my friend. You made a very an impact. I take my father to all the shows. He'll always remember that, and he doesn't remember a lot, but he remembers that time. I can just bring it up at any time, and we just chit chat about when Jared was a dreidel, and man, did we have a freaking blast at that show, boy. And that's another thing, though, Jared, that we bring us fans, we take memories and these things from each event that we go to. We're driving home because most of them are pretty lengthy drives. Yourself, as a talent, I've come to learn that you men and women, you do the same thing. So when me and Pop are driving back home, we're like, hey, how about when Jared as a dreidel got kicked out of the ring, or got some eggs tossed on him, or something funny that happened, or something that really stuck out. The talent does the same thing. Do you find yourself doing that from event to event, sir?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's all about the memories. I mean, you really every single night I've come to realize that you have to bring your best. You got to treat it like it's never going to happen again, because truly, none of us knows like when the last time that we're ever going to be with a certain person in the ring, or be a part of a certain type of match, be in front of a certain type of crowd. And I mean, no better evidence of that than what's transpired over the last year with the pandemic and everything. But I mean, these are certainly memories that we hold like very near and dear. And like you pointed out, wrestlers and talent travel from all over the place for events. Sometimes it's close to home and we see some familiar faces that we know from our hometowns or that we went to school with. And then other times we are several states away, and we might be taking a certain act, kind of from town to town to give all these different types of audiences that same experience. And that's, and that to, really feels like you're almost kind of bridging the gap and connecting people, because every like the fans out in Western Pennsylvania or Ohio are seeing the same stuff that you've done in Connecticut now, and like they kind of see what they've been missing out on all this time. So that's a totally cool experience, especially like with Northeast Wrestling, that's obviously made its home base in Connecticut and New York. But then when the summer hits and we get to do those stadium shows, I mean, that's it's such a cool experience.
I that was something I wanted to get into, because you've been at the forefront of Northeast Wrestling for the past couple years now here, maybe even a few to four. Now, my question being is, when we go to the Bethany shows, those are kind of their home base, and it holds about 200, 250 people or so. There's even people that are standing at times. It's at a town hall in Bethany. We have amazing times at those events. But my question being, though, you've already kind of touched upon the topic of when you start hitting the road during the summer, from the spring to the fall, Northeast Wrestling, they really bring the show, the names and everything. Not only when they get on the road, but just in general, they bring the show and the names. But when you guys go out during those specific months between spring and fall, you're bringing these baseball stadium shows that are bringing so many more people. to so many more eyes to your product, to your program, if you will. Um, is there much of a difference, and which do you prefer between the smaller, intimate setting of, say, the town hall, than going into a wide open stadium where you guys travel?
It's honestly, I think that I've gotten a similar adrenaline rush in both settings. I think that they both lend themselves to kind of a different presentation. I think that 100% the Bethany and Waterbury shows are the best place for the episodic kind of week to week, month to month storytelling culminating in a prolonged storyline that's going to blow off in a match like of that type. For example, like when when I was managing Wrecking Ball, we were feuding with Flip Gordon. I think that that Bethany was the perfect setting for all of those matches. Wrecking Ball against Flip both times, and then me versus Flip with Michael Lombardi as the referee. I mean that match. I feel like it had to be in Bethany because everybody in there had been following along for months and months, and they knew everybody's role in what was going on. Whereas those stadium shows are kind of more built for the vacuum storytelling in a way, like kind of, let's just go, beginning, middle, and end in one night. And obviously, you've got some of the, more, prolific names on some of those events, like the former WWE guys and whatnot. I mean, all of so many memories that I can think of with Mick Foley numerous times, Jimmy Hart, Ricky Steamboat, Enzo and Cass from a couple of years ago with Thrill Ride. I mean, all that stuff happened in the stadiums. But, every now and then, on those shows, I mean, I think that one of the coolest memories that I have personally is Duchess Stadium in 2018. I was managing Wrecking Ball against Hale Collins at that stadium. And obviously, this is one of those super show, super card lineups with all these former and present television talents. Rey Mysterio was in the main event. And yet, here's three guys, who don't come from that kind of background, who are all kind of, just independent stars. And I felt like we got just as good a reaction out of that crowd as, a lot of those superstars. And that was like a really good feeling that we were able to get to get that level of, excitement in our match. I mean, that was really awesome.
I feel that, excuse me, I feel that the fans at Northeast Wrestling, even if it goes away from the home base and you're doing these bigger shows where the people aren't seeing the storylines unless they're, buying the product on the High Spots Network, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Um, that is definitely, the best way if you can't make it to the live events to follow along with the product. If you're not there, then the place to watch is either the Northeast Wrestling Pivot Share website, which is exclusively the NEW events, or the NEW section of the High Spots Network, which you subscribe to the network and you get access to all these different promotions, including Northeast Wrestling. So depending on preference, the fans have two different options, and if you can't make it to a show and you want to see what you missed out on, I mean, that's especially now with the pandemic, and obviously we've got restrictions on what we can and can't do. We've got the Studio Wars, which is like, episodic. We just wrapped up some tapings and the first episode came out this week. So we've got a few weeks to roll that out. And that's going to be ongoing. It looks like for the next couple of months, once a week, there's going to be a new episode coming out. So I think that now more than ever, it's imperative for fans who want to keep up with NEW to subscribe.
I wanted to get into a fan thing, but some differentials. But you just mentioned the Studio Wars, and it triggered something for me. For me, for me as a fan, I absolutely popped. I was a one-man party because I was watching it in my car before I was going to work a couple mornings ago, and I happened to see on the old IG, the Insta, Mr. Silberkleit, you were part of this Rumble at Studio Wars 6.
That is
and
right.
If I'm not mistaken, because I did see it with my own two eyes, one Wrecking Ball, one of your former assets, if you will, he kind of picked you up and tossed you out of the old over the top rope. How was that, my friend?
Well, first of all, being part of the match was pretty awesome. I mean, I have made some sporadic in-ring appearances as a participant, and I like to do it, selectively to make sure that it matters. I don't want it to go to waste. I want everybody to have that kind of reaction like you just did. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he was in this match. So I don't want to normalize it too much, but I'm ready to throw down every now and then. And so I came out, and I did get that one big elimination, right?
You did.
I eliminated Chris Battle without even laying a finger on him. I mean, you want to talk about middle-class Mufasa? Whoa. There he went, right into the gorge, into the Buffalo Stampede. But then, think about this, and I hope he hears this. Okay. What does it say about Wrecking Ball Legursky that he had to attack me from behind? I mean, he snuck up on me when I was looking the other way, and then he picks me up. Listen, he caught me, a little off guard. He sneak attacks me when I wasn't even looking. I mean, I was coming down from that high of that dominant elimination of the Red Lion. You know what I mean? I mean, my energy was just through the roof. I'm jumping up and down. You could see it on tape. Mm-hmm. But, everybody knows Wrecking Ball and I, it's almost like we're destined to do this forever. I kind of joke sometimes like we're the Batman and Joker of Northeast wrestling. But, yeah. It's not the last time that the two of us are going to butt heads, I'm sure. Because to be frank, I'm always looking for the next asset that I can pit against Wrecking Ball to give him a taste of his own medicine.
I have seen that at some of the other shows, even out of the NEW confines, at other promotions. You've been to Titan and WWE, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct on that? NWWE, right?
Yes, in Rhode Island last year. Yep.
And then we saw you make your way to Test of Strength, and boy, the fans, we love to boo the piss out of you, sir.
Oh, yes. I love to hear it.
Yes, that's the mark. We talk about when the talent comes through the curtain, okay? You either have to give us a signal. We're either going to boo you or we're going to cheer you. And I know that with the evolution of wrestling comes the evolution of wrestling fan, and not all faces get cheered and not all heels get booed nowadays. Right. But we're still looking for those signals. Mm-hmm. And if we don't know who you are and you don't come through that curtain with some kind of pizzazz either way, left or right, we don't know to take what signal that you're throwing at us. So we don't know what to do. So we just stand there and look at you.
Of course.
With Mr. Silberkleit, my man, you come through that curtain, the music kicks and everything from with your assets. And especially if you're listed on that card, oh, man, do we just – the heat back and forth, though. That's that dance that we do as talent and fan. The heat that we give each other is just an enormous – I think it's actually a criminal amount of fun, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Appreciate all that. And honestly, it is something I pride myself on. To your point, there is a line – there's a line to walk, I think, because starting with, I don't know, you would probably have to go back to probably the NWO, right? 25 years ago. You get some heels that wind up getting cheered because people are like, I just can't boo this guy. He's too cool. And I kind of pride myself on the fact that although, I've gotten many compliments, people telling me that they really enjoy, seeing me do my thing out there. I've never gotten to that point where I feel like I've lost the heat or people are like cheering me because they think I'm doing a good job. And like, I never want to get there. I want people to, even if they say they're doing it for the right reasons, I just want that shower of boos every single time I get out there. Because I haven't dabbled in the babyface stuff just yet. And it is just too much fun playing the bad guy, getting under people's skin. I actually just posted another clip on the IG the other day where this was probably one of my fondest memories in Bethany. I'm with Thrill Ride, and I just posted a little snippet of it. I'm not kidding you. I'm with him. He's getting ready to do his introduction. The fans there was sold out in Bethany. They drowned us out with booze for 5 minutes straight. We could not get a word in. Couldn't do the intro. Couldn't get the match started. We're probably holding up the whole show. but it was just a wall of nonstop noise. It was like they all wanted us to die.
uh, Soaking that in though, as a
Yeah.
talent and a performer, you just got to be, because we see that on the higher platforms
Yeah.
where those storylines and those feuds and rivalries have built up so long to where you get to a point. Obviously, this is pre-virus, where the fans, as soon as when they say shut up, we get louder. Then they say shut up again, and we get louder and louder.
Yep.
But you're doing it on an independent level, and I know that NEW doesn't like to be called an independent wrestling promotion, because you are the names and things that happen at NEW
Of
might
course.
be a tad different at the normal independent promotion, if you will. But man, to soak all of that in, my friend, with just that one instance, one match, one event, standing there and not even being able to say a damn thing, and you're like you said, you're waiting for the posse to come and kick your ass, literally.
Right.
You've got to be soaking that in and just being like, I am so doing this right. I've got to be doing this stuff right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just like it's what I live for. It literally is like it just gives me life, coming out there and like having that kind of reaction, and you really just feel like right at home in there. It's just an unreal amount of fun to be able to like, knowing that you're making that many people react and feel a certain way all at once, like, they're just kind of in the palm of your hands. I mean, it's like almost like power you get high on. It's crazy. And yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, the Northeast wrestling environment has been unbelievable. It really is, unlike, any other, certainly any other independent promotion. It's really in like its own, I mean, as far as non-televised promotions, it's got to be right at the top. And I mean, you get some of these events. I mean, gosh, some of these locker rooms that I've looked around, I'm like, this could be, a television, a televised company's event that anyone in the country would be happy to put on. And, you look around and look at the caliber of the talent and not just that, but the size of the arenas, the type of arenas, like the Mid-Hudson, we're live out there on iPay-per-view. I'm working with Thrill Ride against Big Cass. Main event is John Moxley and Pentagon, and I'm thinking, I mean, this certainly isn't the independent wrestling you read about on the internet. I mean, this is the real deal.
Yeah.
Whose sign is that?
Look who we have, sir. We were talking fans and the heat.
Oh no! You brought this guy on.
Hi, Jared.
Hello, Joey.
How you doing? Hey, wait, easy. First off, I come in peace, as you can see.
I was about to say, I can't tell if this is genuine or a false sense of security.
No, I come in peace this time, I swear. Don't worry.
All right. Well, innocent until proven guilty.
Even myself, it's fun to prove. So,
Okay. Yeah, that looks like a good sign. You should hang on to that until the next test of strength event on April 3rd, and yeah, make sure nothing happens to that thing. I hope you're scrubbing it.
Scrub it, don't worry. We sanitize.
Maybe put in some laminate, casing or something like that. Just make sure it doesn't get dirty.
Why not?
All right.
Mr. Silberkleit, I don't mean to.
Silberkleit.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Silberkleit. I'm sorry. I don't mean to spring surprises on you as such, and I know this is our very first time ever chit-chatting in an interview.
Didn't we actually have a talk before we went on the air about you not springing things on your guests?
Maybe. But anywho, we were talking.
Because you're not a liar, are you, Don?
Oh, no. Again, I'll amp up the parents' fee for this. I apologize. But anywho.
The proof will be in my Venmo. Go on.
Okay. We were talking the fans, the heat, what you bring to the table, and I've given you 1,000,000%. I've given you 1,000,000% props on what you bring to the table as a wrestling talent.
That's right.
And I say that with like 1,000% respect, 1,000,000% respect, because even though you're not an in-ring wrestler, if you're a manager, if you're a valet, if you're a ring announcer, you are still an in-ring talent in my eyes, and I don't care who says anything different.
Sure.
But we were talking that relationship, the dance between fan and talent. And this guy right here, Joey G, I like to call him Jackie G. Joey G, he is one of your, he is the guy, he's forefront at NEW, and he's come over to TOS now, as we have seen on some of the footage that I have shared with some of our friends on the social medias. Now, Joey G, good kid, runs with a crowd. They love to be loud and proud as fans. So we weren't bringing him in for heat. What we were bringing him in for is, I want to get your perspective as an in-ring talent with a fan right here. How are you feeling when your heat is given, like the projection to the fans, and this is the result, is Joey G and crew coming with their fandom like they do. Please give us some of your thoughts on what you're seeing.
Absolutely. I mean, like, it really speaks to, the continuity we were talking about, how diehard a lot of, the area fans are around, particularly around here, Connecticut, Northeast Wrestling, and Test of Strength. I mean, to know that there are people, like, I feel like you always have to prepare to introduce yourself to every single crowd that you perform in front of, because you never know who's there for the first time. But it's easy to tell, especially in Bethany. There have always been loyalists. I mean, I have been a part in some capacity of shows in that building for 10 years now, and there have been waves of loyalist fans throughout that whole period, particularly in the last few years in Bethany with NEW. And they really they make that place feel like home. And, for me, that's booing me out of the damn building. And I love every second of it. I mean, it is just, like I said, it's that wall of noise, and it just like gives me so much freaking adrenaline when I come down that ramp. And, over the last, because Northeast Wrestling obviously hasn't been able to run in that building for about a year now. When I came to Test of Strength, and I could tell that, there were definitely people there that were looking like, this is we're trying to grasp some of that Bethany energy. We're still trying to have some of that, Connecticut indie wrestling fever. And I mean, that was pretty awesome to me. Just seeing that, like, obviously the circumstances right now are not ideal, but we're making do. And people, if they could just get a little bit of a taste, they're that excited about it. That's a pretty awesome feeling as a talent.
Very well said. I appreciate that. Joey G, could you please tell us how long you drove from where you reside to Test of Strength for the very first time to see this show?
Well, I mean, for when it comes to Test of Strength, like, it's literally on the same way down to Bethany when me and my crew traveled down to Bethany for Northeast Wrestling. So it's actually a bit closer than Bethany, actually, for us. The drive was actually, compared to Bethany, and I'm not complaining about Bethany. I love Bethany. I love the NEW arena. It's only like a 45-minute drive from where I live compared to Bethany, which is like maybe an hour 15, I think. Okay. Maybe. I don't know, but still, either drive is always worth it for us,
Oh, for sure.
Now, I wanted to get Mr. Silberkleit's perspective first, because I know he appreciates what we, the fans, bring to the table, and because we appreciate what he brings as a talent. Now that you've heard his perspective on the fandom of Joey G and Clan, that's got to make you feel really cool as a fan, because we don't get to pass that barrier. There's a barrier right there, that guardrail between a relationship, that line that we don't like to cross and make ourselves assholes. I mean, I'll put it straight out there. When fans cross that line, you're just an asshole. And we've always been those fans that respect that barrier, if you will. But hearing it from a talent such as Jared, NEW Arena, you've seen him regularly, you give him the heat, he gives it to you back. Please talk to us about how his thoughts, what he just said.
Oh, were you talking to me or Jared? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Joey G. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
the phrasing there was kind of throwing me off. I mean, like, I don't know if he's trying to, if you can't convince him, confuse him, right, Don?
That's what I do. I just keep spinning them around. That's all I do. Like a dreidel, my friend, like a dreidel.
Sorry.
I see what you did there. Very clever.
I got a little bit wordy. That's what happens. I drink too much soda. But my point was, you as a fan, you heard Jared. I wanted to start with him, with his thoughts on what the fans are bringing to the table. How are you feeling? You heard Jared. You see this guy regularly at NEW and such. You got to be feeling cool as a fan hearing that from a talent.
Yeah, of course. It's always awesome, regardless of the relationship I guess me and Jared have at the NEW shows. Had a history with my signs, but it is what it is. The point is, it's always good. Like Jared and was like one of the happiest things to see when we ended up showing up at Test of Strength, because for us, me and my crew, it was actually really happy to see him, regardless of like the past sign rips and everything, because it just felt like a bit of the norm all over again, and I like, even, with everything going on, it just felt great, as a fan. It's something I really do appreciate in the long run.
That's what we love.
Too, by the way.
Yeah, that's what we love to talk. Those are the words that we like to hear, Mr. Silver. I say it so much, Silberkleit. I'm sorry.
Been doing. I mean, how long's this show been going on? I would have thought you would have picked it up by now. I mean, you should have had it down by the time we started. Do you need me to spell it out again? It's Silberkleit. Silberkleit. Silberkleit.
I got it this time. I got it.
Okay. All right.
So what you just heard from Joey G is you brought normalcy to him and his crew's life, just like you were stating. That's the love that we, the fans, have with you, the talent. Now, having Joey G on here, I wanted to give him an opportunity because do you have any questions for Jared Silberkleit? And it could be, it's a wide spectrum because wrestling is a wide spectrum, if you will. Do you have anything that you would like to ask one Jared Silberkleit, sir?
I actually do, and it's nothing like insulting. I promise you that.
All right. Like I said, innocent until proven guilty. We'll see how this goes. Fire away.
So obviously, knowing when you made your debut at Test of Strength, knowing that, it's in the familiar Connecticut area, where you're used to being known for doing what you do best. Was the feeling of seeing some familiar faces from the NEW crowd just a little bit happy? Like, I understand money and everything. Did it at least give you a little bit of like happiness to make you feel rich on a different level?
Well, personally, I was a bit relieved to spend a little time social distancing from the middle classers of Connecticut. But to be honest with you, it was a little reassuring. It was a little bit more comforting in a way, because I spent the bulk of my summer. I never thought that nobody thought their 2020 was going to go quite like it did, right? But for me, number one, to get back to doing wrestling shows as fast as I did, which was I had my first booking post-COVID. Only took about 3 months. It was end of June. And then I spent the bulk of my summer going back and forth up and down the Jersey Turnpike. And it's like, obviously, happy to go wherever, but it's like, people started coming up to me at those shows, like for Titan and these other companies, asking like, "Oh yeah, you must be from Jersey," and I'm like, "No, I'm from Connecticut." And to have like that being the place that I was predominantly working for a few months. Number one, I'm very thankful for that experience because it was a new challenge. It was a different fan atmosphere and everything like that. But to come back to Connecticut, it kind of, even though like, yeah, it wasn't Northeast Wrestling. It was Test of Strength, another, new promotion debuting. It still felt in a way, it totally felt like home. But like you mentioned, it wasn't that far from Bethany. There were some familiar faces in the crowd, like yourself and your little insanely rude section. I don't know what you called it over there, but still got under my skin. But yeah, that being said, it was nice to know that, like, the second I walked out there, people knew exactly who I was, and like, oh God, he sunk his claws into somebody else. He's manipulating, wrestlers here too, and they just got it right away. So that was definitely, after a few months, mostly out of state, it was pretty cool.
That's awesome, And in Test of Strength, we're calling ourselves the Stepdad Squad over there. So.
Oh yeah, I've heard. Yeah, that those are your favorites that you're pumping up. And by the way, they're neither of them are my real dad. I have a great real dad, and they can try, but no one but Mark Silberkleit has the right to punish me in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. They are.
It's not, and that's not a challenge. That's a warning to stay away, especially now. Come on, 6 feet, social distancing.
Well, they are the king of spank style, my friend.
They do give out. They do have the Datitude era.
Don, I think you need to go to the bathroom and wash your mouth out with soap after saying that. I mean, there's no way you weren't cringing inside as those words left your lips.
It's the stepdads. We love the stepdads. The king of spank style.
Oh,
I mean,
stop it! Ugh. We need spank style. We got 7-figure style over here. You know who you're talking to? Talking about the stepdads. Give me a break.
Just I didn't mean to bring up. I didn't mean to trigger you. I mean, holy cow. Joey
by the way, those sweaters are hideous.
they're beautiful.
They're
Joey G, I want to thank you for being a little surprise entrant on our little soiree with Jared Silberkleit.
Here we go. Okay. The message
I got it right. I got it right. Before I do let you go, though, I want to get your thoughts, because I know we spoke about this on the fan roundtable, but we have Mr. Silberkleit here with us.
It's 2 in a row.
I know. My appearance fee. I'm going to take a little bit off the top again. Now, with watching him and his assets, or the people that surround him, tear up your signs, what does that do for you as a sign maker?
I mean, I don't know what to say other than it just happens, you know? Like, you know, in my opinion, like watching wrestling, if you bring signs, I always feel like that's fair game at a wrestling show. So I can't sit there and get completely angry. You know, like sometimes, like I've been bringing signs to wrestling shows since 2008, late 2018, actually. And, you know, I always feel like that's the thing. If you don't want a sign to get ripped up, don't sit in the front row, and don't, you know, just don't put it out there where somebody like Throw Ride could rip up my sign and then rip it up and then wipe his nose.
And let's be clear here. You got no right to get upset about those things being ripped to shreds, because let me tell you, buddy, those signs were ruined the second you decided to scribble some antitrust fund propaganda on them.
Hey, man, like
so
as
far as I'm concerned, all I did was make it easier to throw them away.
All right, you know, you gave me some confetti. That's all, you know.
And there you go. Spread it around at your birthday party. What are you going to be, 44 this year?
Wow.
So.
It's all right. You're not as old as this guy. I mean, he's got to be coming up on what, like 70 or something?
I'm right around Ozzy Osbourne age. I'm so close.
You're old enough to qualify for the first round of the COVID shots, right? I hope you got yours.
I tried, but I kept talking. I was trying to, Dr. Kate, I want my shot, and they kicked me out. I mean, what do you want me to do?
I would probably have done the same thing.
Joey G, I can't thank you enough for a little surprise. I did not expect that to happen. We got this together, and I was like, oh hell yeah, we got to do that. Joey G, thank you so much for joining our little party here. This was amazing. Now before you go, I just want you to give a quick plug, because we like the people that are on the show. Give a quick plug. What you doing? And Jared, wait till he hears the name of his podcast. You're gonna love this. Please plug away.
I've heard the name of it.
I think he knows the name of my podcast. I'm doing a podcast now called the Sign Rip Podcast with Joey G. Eventually, I would love to have Jared on my podcast, without a doubt. Mm-hmm. Contrary to what a certain guy who's rude would say, Jared,
guy who's rude,
not banned from my podcast.
Uh-huh.
You know, I would love to have Jared on at some point, you know, because sometimes the podcast goes into things besides wrestling, like baseball, you know, and contrary, me and Jared do share a similar interest in a certain baseball team. So,
okay. That we do.
So, yeah. Wow. So eventually at some point in the future, I'd love to have Jared on the podcast, but Sign Rip Podcast with Joey G.
Wow. Common ground right at the tail end between Joey G and Jared Silberkleit. I did not see that coming at all. Not one bit.
Well, I want to clear the air on this thing. Even though Joey G and I both like the Yankees, even though Joey G owns some of my t-shirts, some of my merchandise. He's feigning some support right here on your podcast, Don, but I want to make this clear. I know, Joey, where your true allegiances lie, and as far as I'm concerned, the best you can ever do is being an upper middle classer, because you, my friend, will never be trust fund approved.
Really?
Really?
I come on here, I make the sign, I wear the shirt and everything. You know what, Jared?
What?
Yeah, you're right. Goodbye. I'm taking his shirt off.
Oh,
Well,
wow. Wow.
well, I told you. I told you I
Wow.
knew his true colors. I saw that coming the second I saw his face pop up on here.
I did not. I didn't see that coming. I'll tell you that right now. Holy
Of
cow.
course. He's nothing but a paycheck to paycheck poser, a middle classer, somebody who cheers for insanely rude.
Wow.
That's who he likes the most.
Wow.
Oh my God!
I-
Somebody kicked out.
Uh,
Jeez, it's getting testy over here.
Wow. He took his shirt off. I don't want to get. I don't want to get monetized.
Yeah. No. If that's the case, definitely don't bring him on. Nobody needs to see that.
Yeah. Now I know you didn't expect that.
Sorry.
I know you didn't expect that surprise.
I'm sorry. I just actually just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Oh, again, I apologize. I've done that a lot
Okay.
this show. I know you don't like surprises, and I slipped you a Mickey, if you will. Please do not get me canceled. I know you got the stroke.
Nah.
Please don't cancel me.
Okay.
I just
Better
thought
be
it'd
on
be
your best
funny.
behavior, Don.
I'm trying. I just thought it'd be fun to get a little fan and talent interaction like that. We just have so much fun, sir, and I thought it'd be some fun. And I hope you don't mind.
I'm willing to water under the bridge for now. What's the next subject?
Next subject is your assets, and I know we're getting to the tail end of this because
Right.
you can only take so much of one person at one time. Now the assets, you have a list in NEW specifically, the list of assets that have been under the umbrella of one Jared Silberkleit is
Oh, yeah.
off the charts. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
totally off the charts. Now,
Absolutely.
I've had Ref Quinn on here. Love Ref Quinn. Now, I picked out his favorite moment, which I thought was going to be his favorite moment in NEW, and that was refereeing the match between. I was there at WrestleFest. It was a match between Cody Rhodes and Kurt Angle in a cage
Yep.
in Waterbury, and holy crap, what a show, what a match. I'll never forget it. But I have an NEW talent, and you've worked with so many in the ring. Could you please maybe give us one or two, because it might be hard to pick just one. Could you give us maybe one or two of your favorites that you've worked with?
Favorites that I've worked with. Oh man, I've honestly, particularly in Northeast Wrestling, I mean, I feel like I have had off the charts chemistry with so many of my assets. I really like. It was honestly, Wrecking Ball was the perfect start for me. I think that we were two polar opposites that complemented each other perfectly, and we filled in, the gaps where the other was lacking, really pretty seamlessly. And it got to the point where, I mean, because he was the first guy that I ever managed, to where when it was, when we ended up splitting up and he turned on me, I kind of almost had to find my footing in a way, because I wasn't as secure at that point in who I was by myself, my own person. And I kind of needed to go through that gauntlet, I guess, of, working with all these different people just to kind of get more solidified in myself. Like, all right, I know who I am. No matter who I wind up paired with, I know who I am. And that being said, like, I feel like that's just allowed me to establish this connection with all these different people. And so vagueness aside, I mean, I think that like Wrecking Ball and Thrill Ride, just due to longevity, I had such a blast working with both of them, and they were so different too. I mean, Wrecking Ball was the classic 80s, monster manager dynamic. I was getting a lot of comparisons to Cornette and Jimmy Hart and Earthquake and that type of stuff. And then with Thrill Ride, I mean, that was a different challenge because, okay, with Wrecking Ball, big monster, doesn't say a whole lot. I do the promos for him, right? Well, obviously, Thrill Ride is one of the most charismatic people in. Okay, forget wrestling here. I mean, I'd rather watch a Thrill Ride promo than listen to an interview from like 99% of guys in any form of entertainment or on social media. You talk about like those viral like people on Instagram or YouTube. I mean, this guy obviously can talk his butt off, and he doesn't need me to do that for him, but we still found a way to make it work. We would both talk before a match or in a pre-tape or something like that, and there was still a role to be played in the matches to help the overall storytelling and whatnot. And not to mention, I mean, it's like that's not the one function that I serve. I feel like like when people saw me come out with him, they were like, oh my gosh, this is the Thrill Ride that we used to love, who was the most popular guy in New England a few years ago, and now he's associating himself with this little weasel. It's like I'm there for that, and that makes people like think of the dynamic in a different kind of way. So I think that it was two totally different dynamics with both of those guys. I think they have to be my 1 and 2, and or really like 1A, 1B at that point. And I really like Bear Country and Richard Holiday, and I really wish that, I mean, man, I felt like we were just kind of getting started with that before COVID hit. So really, I think everybody in NEW has been a total home run. Even guys like Ron Zombie. That was everybody to this day like still comes up to both of us talking about that night that he turned and joined us in Waterbury. Another one of the, you talk about moments and memories, right? I mean, that's something that people like, because he'd never been heel before, and people were so shocked.
Yep.
Like it's hard in this to get that genuine reaction out of people. It felt like people were like legitimately disgusted with what he did. I will never forget that.
It's like the Miz girl. Remember that little girl that had that skeleton? It's the same. Getting that impact from the fans is very hard, like you just said.
Yeah.
Because we've seen so much. Where do you go from here? How do you make the awe shock, get us to pop, if you will, and get those reactions? You guys are doing some really fun stuff. And when you get us to do those things, man, we connect on that whole journey. And I love that, because I love storylines and characters and lengthy title runs. That's me in a nutshell as a wrestling fan.
Absolutely.
I love all of that stuff. And I know we've been speaking. We're about to come up on an hour's time here, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. Now, Jared, what makes a guy of your stature? Because I've seen you in that Wrecking Ball footage in the Studio Wars 6, rather. You're not skinny like I am. You're not built like a candle. You, my man, you're fit. You work on your body. What makes a guy like yourself, not that big of a guy, get into wrestling, but as a physique, kind of a physical guy? Why aren't you pursuing that wrestling aspect?
Well, for a few reasons. Number one, I was really never much of an athlete growing up. I graduated high school just over $110 soaking wet. I was always, really small, skinny. Didn't get into weightlifting until I went to college and, befriended some of that bodybuilder crowd. And I also wanted to always pursue sports announcing. That was the childhood dream of sorts. And that's how I got into wrestling at first, was to do ring announcing and commentary, and think it would help me build up my public speaking experience. And then I kind of fell in love with it and wanted to see how far I could take it. And when the opportunity came about to manage, that was just kind of the next natural step. I've already got experience on the microphone. Now here's a chance to be more of a character, personality. So just because it was already ingrained in my head that I wanted to have like a speaking role in entertainment and sports, and not so much, the athletic side. But that being said, I also, for really like health reasons, wanted to. I've always just been really passionate about working out for the last probably 8 years or so, and especially in my role, I kind of want to break the stigma of managers, because I feel like managers have just gotten this really like bad reputation as an unnecessary accessory piece on a physical level. They're out of shape. They really like you couldn't even, for some of them, you couldn't tell the difference between them and a fan in the front row. It's just that they happened to put on like their father's suit or something like that. And like I didn't want to be that like stereotypical out of shape wrestling manager. Like I wanted to do different things. I wanted to feel different, look different, act different. And I do still, I have done some matches here and there, and I want to keep doing that. Again, not every single night, but periodically when it matters, when people will, react to it in a certain way. And when it fits a storyline, it's an appropriate payoff and people anticipate it. And like, I kind of always, I also thought like, kind of with my size, if I was full time in the ring, I mean, not that like, I mean, obviously wrestlers come in all shapes and sizes, but like, I just didn't want it to fade in as like, all right, there's another, another face in the crowd. I wanted it to be, different and mean something when I did do it.
It's very evident that this path that you have chosen seems to be working out very well in your favor. The manager, as part of the art form of wrestling, has slowly kind of faded away. And I've spoken about this on this show many a time with the talent and fans alike. You, my friend, I feel, and when me and my dad talk about, managers and stuff like that, you're always at the top of that list because you make such a mark. You present such a unique package, if you will, as a manager. The way you look, the way you speak, the way you come out the curtain, the whole 9 yards. And you don't look like an out of shape roly-poly manager that could fall on the ground and maybe not get back up.
Sure.
So, I mean, all of that said, I just feel that your uniqueness, the creativity that you've given yourself as, to present this package as Jared Silberkleit, and I know it's your real name and all of that, you are doing a fantastic job, sir. You're really standing out, and it's very hard to do that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I always, whenever like my easy knee jerk reaction, whenever anybody like throws the compliments my way is I'm having fun. And that's the most important thing to me. I do this because I want to have fun. I try not to like, put the, a mountain of pressure on myself to get to like, this, this place or that place. I'm in this. If I'm not having fun, then I'm not doing it for the right reasons. And I've always believed like if you're going to do something, you got to put your all into it. You got to put 110% in. You got to crank it up to 11. You have to, especially for this, you got to be larger than life. You can't, one of my favorite quotes from Lemmy Kilmister of Motorhead said, when people go to a concert, they want to see a rock star. They don't want to see their neighbor. They want to see a being from another planet. So if you're going to, for me, I've just always thought you're going to get into this, you're going to be a character, be a friggin' character.
Yes. And thank you for doing so. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, before I do let you go, I'd like to do two things. Obviously, we want you to plug yourself and get all of that stuff. That'll be at the tail end. Before we do that, what I like to do is before we let the talent go, I know you've been with many a talent behind the curtain, on the road and such. You guys and girls have some fun times. You like to do some ribbon and you like to have some fun and all of that stuff.
That we do.
Please, oh please, tell me there's a story that you could give us, the fans, before you leave that really sticks out. May it be on the road, may it be at an event, may it be behind the curtain for whatever reason. You don't have to go into specific detail. If you got arrested, you don't have to tell us that either. But is there any way that you could give? Is there any way you could give us a story before you go?
Oh my gosh. One pretty recent one actually was while NEW was on the road a couple summers ago. There was a big it went out to dinner after one of the stadium events, and Thrill Ride showed Jerry Lawler how to work Tinder for the first time ever. He'd never downloaded the app. He'd never seen the app. And I don't even think he planned to use it himself. He just was like, what is this? And, Thrill Ride's taking him through the process. Like, here's how you make a profile. Here's like, what you put in there. Here's how you swipe. Here's how you swipe left, all that stuff. And your matches show up here. So that was pretty awesome. There's some others not involving me. There have definitely been a lot. You got to have fun out there, especially. I mean, like, when we're on the road, like, doing these loops, these stadium tours. I mean, you're on the road, the whole weekend. You know what I mean? Like, the event only lasts for so long, but you're away from home. You're in the hotels and everything. There's all kinds of time for stuff in between. So, yeah.
Plenty of chicanery being had.
Yes. Especially when you got a trust fund to play with. I mean, come on, you got to live it up. Penthouse suite, casinos.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you for sharing that story. Love when we can pull a story out of the talent.
Yes.
Before we do let you go, my friend, please give us all the medias. How do we find you? Give us all of those deets, if you will.
All righty. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jared Talks Loud, all one word, on both applications. Facebook.com/Jared Talks Loud and ProWrestlingTees.com/Jared Silberkleit Trust Fund, all one word. That's how you can keep up with me. That's how you can buy my merchandise. You can send me messages, and I will reply probably crudely and sarcastically. Give you a hard time. If you thought what I said to Joey was bad, just wait what I have for you. If you catch me having a bad day on Twitter, so may the odds forever be in your favor.
Well, throw him a message, slide in his DMs, but take your chances. This has been a fine hour, Mr. Silberkleit. You've been very informative. You've been very open and candor. You gave us a little story. You took our surprise with stride. I thought you were going to hang up on me as soon as Joey G came in. So I appreciate you hanging out with that. And you, my friend, have been way different guest than I totally expected. I thought I was going to get nothing but lava heat from when we hit record till we hit the stop record. And this, my friend, has been an absolute amazing sit down with yourself. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. I mean, I could have just insulted you for 60 minutes straight, but my doctor tells me that it's bad for my blood pressure to get so angry all the time. So I'm trying to, relax, unwind a little bit, because at the end of the day, I got nothing to prove to you. I got nothing to prove to your listeners. At the end of the day, we know that when I wake up in the morning, from the time I lie down to bed, my life is so much better and more fulfilling than yours. So I don't need to rub it in your face. I mean, we know how it is.
Yeah, we do. That's for sure.
Exactly. There's no need to jump up and down and start screaming and yelling about it.
No.
I'm trust fund approved, and you're not.
Like
I said, you got the T-shirt though. Upper middle classer. I'll give you that.
You did give upper middle classer, and I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm gonna do something that I never have done before on this show. Instead of me doing the outro for the talent, would you care to take us out, my friend?
All right. This has been Stirring the Pot, your one-stop paycheck to paycheck podcast, which for one night and one night only has become courtesy of the benefactor Jared Silberkleit, Trust Fund approved.